All right, what is up, everyone, and welcome to the next episode on Together Achieving Greatness. I'm Trevor Gutting, owner operator, lead coach here at Tag Performance and Nutrition, and I'm here to help you be an athlete for life, to improve your life, be the best version of yourself through fitness, training, sleep, and nutrition. All these aspects combined into one, roll all those into your Play-Doh ball, and that gets you the best life. You can't have one without the other, and that's why at TAG we focus on all of these aspects, finding what you need to work on the most and what works best for you and your lifestyle. We are all individuals. That's why we should train that way. We should have our own nutrition plans, our own sleep plans, finding what fits with each and everyone's life. But before we jump into today's episode, I want you to make sure you are subscribed to my page below. So click the little icon down there if you could, and just like the videos if you are enjoying them. Share them with your friends. Share them with someone a family member who might need to hear a new message, or just needs a little kick in the butt, or some motivation, or needs a tip here and there on their health, their wellness. So that's all I got for you on that part. And now we will jump into today's episode. And today I want to cover a topic I hear a lot about. A lot of my clients ask me about, a lot of people getting into exercise, and it's kind of a buzzword these days, and has been over the years, is HIIT training, or HIIT, which stands for high intensity interval training. And I want to jump into that today because it can be an effective a form of training, and jump into what it is, how to perform it, why most people do it wrong. Most of these group classes and all those things do it wrong. And some of my favorite methods on how to incorporate HIIT training. So let's get off the bat. First of all, HIIT training is not magic. It is a lot of these marketing companies, same with like they do for supplements and things like that, is these overnight success. They'd say, "Oh, more HIIT is better," and all this stuff. No, not necessarily. HIIT can have its place, and it all depends on the individual. So let's kind of define what high intensity interval training is. HIIT training is. It is high. The key word there is high intensity, and you can only use high. Your body can only do high intensity things for a few seconds, maybe 12, maybe 15, 12, 15 seconds is really pushing it to be able to do a high intensity exercise. So if you think of high intensity, it's the intent. You are going as hard as possible for that amount of time. And our bodies only have three energy systems that we can use. Number one is our alactic. So that is that short burst. This is where the high intensity interval training lives. That 5 to 10, 12, like I said, maybe 15 seconds if you are an elite athlete. But most of us stick in that 5 to 10 second range, and you're good to go. That high intensity, that's where our body takes our energy systems from, and that alactic system. I'm not going to break down these in depth because you probably don't even want to hear all the scientific stuff there. But then we get into our glycolytic system. Think of this as that medium range. So like 30 seconds to a minute in that range. That stuff that it doesn't exist a lot in like team sports or anything like that. So athletes, not a lot of sports rely on that. There's some, but not a ton. Especially if you're a team sports athlete in a power, speed and power sport like football, like baseball, like basketball, things like that. But then you get into the third one, which is that longer duration energy system, which is our aerobic system. So think of things like walking, like your jogs, those types of things. That's dealing more in the aerobic system. That longer duration, think a minute plus of effort, of work consistently. So, but we're not going to dive into, because think of this as your list, because a lot of people think of HIIT versus list. So list is low intensity steady state, so like you're walking, which is the best form of list for most people. But again, HIIT is high intensity interval training, and again, that high intensity for a short period of time. So an example of this would be you're going to do, let's say, sprints or an airdyne sprint on an air bike. So you are going to go for, let's say, 5 seconds, as hard as possible, 100% effort. No, you can't do 110 because that doesn't exist. You cannot go more than what you have. So all out, as fast as you can, as hard as you can for that short period of time, that 5 to 10 seconds, we'll say. And then you are going to rest for a good amount of time. It's not 10 seconds. It's, if you go 10 seconds of high intensity, rest 50 seconds. Think of it as short bursts of work, short periods of work, that 5 to 10 seconds, and then longer duration rest, 45, 50, 60 seconds, somewhere in there. And the rest period you can toggle with depending on what your goal is. For example, I consider sprint work to get faster. That's high intensity interval training because you are going as hard as you can. But then if you're working on speed, getting faster, you're going to extend that rest period longer. So if you're doing think 60 seconds for every 10 yards. So if you're doing a 10-yard sprint, rest a minute. If you're doing a 20-yard sprint, rest 2 minutes, 33 minutes, somewhere in there. But yes, I consider that high intensity interval training. Some other people might, and that's fine with them. But think of it as short bursts of work and then longer periods of rest where you're able to get pretty fully recovered and if you're working on more on conditioning where you're trying to not get fully recovered, then you can shorten that rest period, think 45, 50 seconds, that type of thing. But still, the rest period is a lot longer. Think of like a 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 5-to-1 ratio on rest to work. Again, the work periods are always going to be short. It's going to be that heavy, hard, full out effort because your body cannot physically go as hard as possible for longer than 10 seconds for most people. Just think of it. And this is where we get into all these classes and things like that, these group classes and stuff that quote unquote are HIIT training, and they're not. They are not anywhere near HIIT training. They are, you're going hard. They say you're going hard for 30 seconds, then you rest 10 seconds, or you rest 30 seconds. That is not, or you're going hard for a minute. No, you can't possibly, your body physically can't go high intensity for that long. A better name for these would be high effort classes. High effort, but not high intensity, because your body physically can't go that long. You see like these kickboxing classes or these people doing battle ropes, and they're only using 20% of their intensity, but they're going for 30 seconds thinking that, this is high intensity. No, it's not. It's not. No matter what they say, it's not. Your body can't do that. Maybe you're putting in a lot of effort, but the intensity is not there over that longer duration. So think, again, high intensity. And that's what's wrong with these classes is they overdo, they overuse, and they think that your body is going your high intensity when they're really not. It's a bad marketing ploy to get it. It's just the wrong, incorrect terminology. I mean, if you like to do those classes, do those classes. But a lot of times it's overdoing things. It's not allowing your body to recover and rest. And your body needs that rest and recovery. And that's why HIIT training can be great, because when done properly, it does allow you to get some recovery, some rest in there. It's not just one set after another, after another, after another with no rest, because your body can't continually give its all-out effort without any rest. Think of, even especially for athletes, think of a baseball player. What, you hit a ground ball or whatever, you sprint to first, and then you rest 20, 30 seconds, depending on how long you pitch a ball. You rest after each pitch 15, 20, 30 seconds. And that's the maximum intent if you're throwing that type of thing. Football, what's a play lasts, what, 5, 6 seconds at most? And maybe if you break a 50-yard run, a little bit longer. But yeah, plays don't last that long. And then you rest. You have time to rest and recover. You're not just, hurry up office and things like that, but still, there's time to recover in there. And that's where you can adjust it to whatever your goals are. If you're working more on conditioning, if you're working more on speed, adjust those rest periods to fit within your sport if you are an athlete. And if you're not, if you're just trying to be an athlete for life, like my clients are, it's managing, again, what their goal is. It's that 5-10 seconds of all-out effort, followed by 45, 50, 60 seconds of rest for the most part. And we can adjust that depending on goals and improving and just ways to change and challenge each person. But again, it's not like these classes. It's not 30 seconds of half-assed effort just to get sweaty and gross and then think that's high out all your intensity, because you're not. If you really think about it, maybe that first 10 seconds you're going hard, but then after that your speed slows down. If you're running, your arms start to slow down. If you're doing a battle rope, your kicks start to get, I've never even been to one of those like kickboxing things, but your kicks get a little weaker. It's not max effort, or it's max effort. It's not maximum intensity. And that's what we want with high intensity interval training. Your intensity has to be high. Yes, your effort is going to be high because you have to give a lot of effort to go high intensity, but it's not just high effort like most of these so quote unquote HIIT classes are. And they're not allowing you sufficient time to recover and your body to get back to being able to perform at a high intensity again. And that's the main thing you want to do with HIIT, high intensity interval training. So that is kind of my spiel on what it is and why do you do it? Why HIIT training? Because it's just another way to challenge your body. It's another way to condition, a good form of cardio for people who want to change things up, do something a little bit different. They want to feel athletic, where you're going an all-out sprint, or you're doing a hill sprint, you're doing an airdyne bike, battle ropes, whatever it may be. It's just another way to change it up, help the body adapt, and kind of people can get bored with just strength training all the time, or low intensity interval training all the time, or low intensity steady state cardio. It's just another way to change, have the body adapt, find a new stimulus, way to stimulate it, and it's a way to build your heart. And a lot of times, high intensity interval training can also help build muscle, especially if you're doing like hill sprints, airdynes, those types of things. Whereas low intensity steady state is not necessarily going to build muscle. It's going to help your heart, of course, get you some steps, get you some movement. But again, and how to incorporate it, a lot of times it gets overdone where people are doing it 4, 5, 6 times a week. You don't need to do that. Think maybe it depends on, again, each individual person where you're at, but start with once a week doing it. You can do it, and where to do it after a strength training session or on its own separate day. You probably don't want to do it before. I guess it depends on your goals, obviously, but I always prefer to do strength training work first and then conditioning after. If you are doing it as, say, sprint work for getting faster, sprint work comes before strength training, and then conditioning comes after. So again, depending on your goals, that's how it's going to work, depending on where you want to put it in your training. But again, you don't need to do it every day. A lot of times, that because the body needs to recover, you need actual rest too. Just like strength training, you don't need to strength train every day. Yes, doing something every day, moving every day is great, but HIIT training is not a magic cure. It's not the greatest thing in the world. It can help, yes, but don't overdo it, which going to these classes is 7 days a week. And again, they're not HIIT classes and they're just killing you. You're not resting, you're not recovering. So, yeah, start with one, maybe 2 times a week is good, especially if it's conditioning. But that's a good, you probably don't need much more than that. Combine it with some lists, do some walking, walk every day. You should walk every day anyway. Get your 10,000 steps. But that's how I like to do it. And some of my favorite tools, I mentioned a few of them, are just sprints. Get out, flat ground sprints. Sprints are my favorite exercise, the best exercise you can do, in my opinion. Hill sprints, so hill sprints are good for people who haven't been sprinting a lot, because you're not getting full extension and strain on the hamstrings. So you're running an incline, and it doesn't need to be like a a vertical hill, maybe like 20-30% incline, something like that. Hill sprints. So hill sprint for 10 seconds, rest for 50. Sprint for 5 seconds, rest for 50 or whatever. So again, that high intensity for that short duration, and then rest for a good period of time. So I mentioned sprints, hill sprints, the Airdyne bike. I have an Airdyne bike, an old Schwinn that I got from a lady for like $20. She took $5 off of it because I helped her carry it up the stairs. So yeah, it works great for me, but you can get, like, they got all the fancy new ones, the Rogue, assault bikes, those types of things. But mine works for me for what I use it for. I'm just got to tighten the screws every once in a while just because it is so old. But Airdyne bikes, assault bikes, whatever you want to call them. Battle ropes are a good one. Sleds, you can do high intensity interval training with sleds. Oh, let's see, what are some other tools that I like to use, or some methods? I mean, you could do it with med balls, like high intensity med ball slams for 10 seconds, and then rest, things like that. So those are some of my favorite. Even like tire flips, you can combine all these things into different ways of training too. You can do sprints in place in your, if it's cold, if you're in Wisconsin or whatever, in the middle of winter, put a band around your waist and sprint in place for 5-10 seconds, that type of thing. There's plenty of different ways. There's plenty of different tools. Those are some of mine. But again, HIIT training is not 30 seconds on of work, 30 seconds off. It's not 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. It's not a minute on, a minute off. That's not HIIT, because you are not going that high intensity. Again, think of it as the intensity, not effort. High effort, yeah, you can do that for longer, but high intensity is the intensity. It's the body's maximum output for that short period of time. And again, if you guys have any questions on HIIT training or anything else regarding fitness, nutrition, shoot them my way, Trevor@tagpn.com. Make sure you like and subscribe to my video, like and subscribe to my page below. It'd be a great help so I can reach out and get my message across to more people. And again, any questions, reach out, guys, and I will look forward to speaking with you again soon. Thanks.